All right, here we go, guys. You ready? We're going to talk about the boneless belly.
Hot new bait.
It's the hot new bait, the boneless belly. Guys, in the past, this is the belly that we've been rigging. We still rig. We sell tons of them. Has bones in here at the base. Obviously, by looking at this, you know where this is on the bait. So that's our standard belly. John has come up with a new bait. Actually, it's a belly bait, but it's much different. So you can see the lining of the stomach.
Lining of the stomach, no bone.
No bone. Okay. If I was to hold the Bonito, this would almost be like right here. Follow me? So basically, you're looking at, he's cutting the lining of the stomach out.
Correct.
So it's still a belly
leaving the
bait.
meat towards the tail, off a big Bonito.
Correct.
A large Bonito.
And so we're not using the tail. Now, action-wise,
No comparison.
no comparison. But we've caught a lot of big fish on the standard.
And we still will. Yeah,
and we
for
still
sure.
will. So anyway, one thing, talk about this real quick. You talked about if you want a bait like this, you kind of need a bigger fish.
A Bonito, a large Bonito, 10 pounds and up. The smaller Bonito does not have the thick enough belly wall or the size. So it's got to be a big Bonito to cut that bait.
Right, so it's got to be relatively long. And you can use what size hooks in this, John?
Larger hook, 11-0 hook, because of the thickness of the belly wall and the size of the bait. So you can go, we've been using 11-0s in them and it's been working great.
All right, so 11-0. So again, boneless is what we're going to rig. Actually, let's rig both of them so that they can see them. And again, we'll show you the action in the water. If you haven't seen it on Instagram or Facebook, check us out. It's RJ Boyle Studio. Friend us or do whatever so you can watch some of that stuff. A lot of times when we're offshore, we put baits in the water and pull them towards us so you can see it. But anyway, let's let John get in here. Again, remembering real quick, we rig on 300-pound mono. We use a 2.0 crimp. We use a southern tuna bend hook. He's going with an 11 on the big one, and you still fishing a 10 on
10-0 in the regular bait.
10-0 on the standard, and he's using 50-pound tacky wax. And that's the floss you're going to see here in a second. As far as the skirt, this is a size 50, we call it.
Yes.
It's about a 13-inch skirt, and he's trimmed it down. So we're going to let you come right in here and watch John B rig two different baits.
All right, let's go. We're going to rig a boneless belly bait here. It's a very simple bait to rig. Start with the 11-0 hook. What I like to do is poke a hole in the belly, meat side, about 1.5 inches from the tip. Poking the holes allow me to push the leader through. The crimp is on, through the eye of the hook, through that hole I just made. Pull some extra mono. Up into the crimp and just let it fall naturally. Slide your crimp to where it's about 1/2 inch above the meat of the Bonito. Just crimp that down. Now we're going to put the hook through. We're going to measure, hold the hook tight on the loop that you've crimped. Put your thumb where you want the hook to go through. Bend your bait. Hook through the center. The hard part is done, basically. A few stitches and this bait's done. Very simple. What I like to do is I'll go through one side, the meat side of the eye of the hook. We're going to do a couple simple overhand knots. Three. Trim off your excess. The next stitch will be securing the hook to the bait. On the meat side, go through about 1 inch behind the bend of the hook. Back through on the other side. This will be securing your bait to your hook. Again, I like to go double overhand knot once, and I'll go with 2 single overhand knots after that. Trim off your excess. The bait is now ready for a skirt. Very simple, streamlined. I'm going to go with a size 50 skirt. Slide that over the point of the bait. Just make sure the skirt's laying properly. You might have to adjust it a time or two. I like to pull the crimp through the head of the skirt. So you can see that crimp coming through the head of the skirt. My last stitch will be through the skirt and the opposite side of the eye of the hook that I've already stitched. So this stitch is doing 2 things. It's holding the skirt on. It's also securing the hook to the bait. Same thing with the overhand knots. Double overhand, single overhand, and another single overhand knot. And that's it. Our bait is ready to roll. Very simple. Has a lot of action in the water. Great bait. It's been working really well for us lately. We've caught a lot of big fish on it. Simple to rig, very durable. You see a lot of the belly meat, the belly wall of the Bonito is still on there when a swordfish whacks it. He just has this meat trailing the belly meat that he can foul up by whacking it. Can't get this off, so for the most part, this bait's going to stay stable through a bunch of whacks from a swordfish. That's about it. It's good to go. Okay, now we're going to rig our standard Bonito belly bait, which is slightly different than the boneless belly. This still has the bone in the bait. It's a little bit more of a rigid bait. Still a great bait though. We use them a lot and have a lot of success with it. So we'll take our standard 300-pound leader, put your crimp on, 10-0 tuna bend hook as opposed to the 11-0. This bait is slightly smaller. We'll poke a hole the same way as we did through the boneless bait, about 1.5 inches back from the point of the bait, top of the bait. Going to put our 300-pound leader through that hole that we've created. Back up through the crimp. Snug that crimp down so it's basically snug on the top of the bait before we crimp it, which we'll do now. Same as the boneless belly, we're going to measure where the bend of the hook is, pull it snug on your crimped section. Hook's going to come out right about there, so we'll bend our bait. Push the point through. It's ready to go now. We're going to sew it up. I'll go through the eye of the hook and through the belly itself. This is going to help to secure the bait to the hook to the bait. Tie 2 overhand knots. Tie a third. Trim off the excess. Next stitch is going to be securing the hook to the bait. Going to want to come up about 1 inch from the bend of the hook. Go through your bait. Leave 3 or 4 inches to tie. Back through the other side on the opposite side of the hook, the opposite side of the shank of the hook. Pull that snug. Again, we're going to use the overhand knots to finish that off. I used a double overhand and I'll use 2 singles. Trim off the excess. Your bait is ready for its skirt now. Slide your leader through there. Position the skirt over the bait so that all the strands come down naturally. Again, I like to pull the crimp up through the head of the skirt. So it's nice and snug, so this skirt's down snug on the point of the bait. One more stitch. The stitch is going to secure the skirt to the bait, and it's going to put the finishing touch, holding the hook secure to the bait as well. So I went through the eye of the hook, the opposite side that I did on my initial stitch. Again, we're going to go with 2 overhand knots, a single overhand knot, and one more to keep it from sliding. Trim off the excess, and we're ready to go. Very simple bait to rig, great swordfish bait.